See, I don't have a fancy intro or anything. Y'all get me just kind of rocking out for a few seconds. Um, or the version of it that I do at this age. I think I could probably still rock out. Oh, sorry. Hey, happy panel, open panel. That's pretty much all this is. In the evenings, I'm just doing straight up open panel, third place, nothing complicated. I might do topics now and then to fill in if nobody shows up, but I prefer the evenings to be the Cajun. In fact, that's what I should call this, the Fado Do. Cajuns have a tradition called the Fado Do. It means make sleep. Dodo is to sleep. And it's when all the Cajun people would get together at somebody's house and they put all the kids to bed upstairs, and then all the adults would stay downstairs and dance and party and carry on and cut up. And it was like a community tradition. So I want the evenings to kind of be the Fado Do, where we put all the heavy stuff to bed and kind of just let loose, keep it light. We don't have to keep the conversations light, but like the atmosphere maybe light, as light as it can get around here. It is open panel, so feel free to come on up or throw in a topic. I might find, let's see, I want to see if there's like a website that has random questions or prompts or something. Writing prompt generator, topic generator. Let's see what these do. Give me a writing prompt. Oh, listen to this. A 750 word story in the romance genre. This thing is spying on me. It's about an adventure and should include a very small television. Also use the sentence, I don't want to ask for too much. Bonus prompt. The story takes place in a desert. I was already seeing a desert. I was already thinking about setting in a desert. Like maybe even an Earthship. And there could be a little small TV built into the Earthship, maybe, that plays some kind of role. Maybe there could be multiple little TVs and it's different panels and streamers, like security cameras, except you could watch multiple panels at once and it's built into the Earthship. But I don't want to ask for too much. So at least just that. Wow, that was kind of a story. Okay, the random topic generator allows you to randomly generate a list of unlimited different topics. Sounds good to me. Generate. Gymnastics. Hang on, let me change the quantity. Airports. I don't love them. I hate traveling, mainly because I hate the logistics of traveling. If I could just like wake up in the space, in the place, I wouldn't mind it. But I always said that hey, Bex, that's why I won't go on The Amazing Race, because the airport stuff would trip me up more than any of the challenges that they have to do. I'm getting better at it. I don't travel a lot, but my last trip home to Louisiana went pretty smoothly. Daniel Barry, welcome to our evening part of the programming. Growing up, when we had actual TV stations and actual programming, and that's pretty much all we had, the evening was like the primetime shows, the action shows, your sitcoms, your adult dramas like Dallas and Dynasty and stuff. And TV had a structure to it. You had like, remember, because TV cut off at night and then it started again in the morning with the anthem. And then you had like some morning news and local news, and then you might have some game shows, and then a noonday news, and then some soap operas, and then maybe some after school cartoons, Spider-Man and stuff, and then some more local news, and then the national news, and then the TV out, like the primetime TV hour would start like around 7:00. You'd have like 3 or 4 hours of TV shows, and then probably some more late night news. So this is like that, but without all the news segments. I'm just going to mix those into the programming. And tonight is the hangout, the Fado Do, the pit. The maelstrom. Come on in. I think I posted it everywhere on social media. So, or everywhere I intended to post it. So we'll just wait and see what happens. Let me see who's streaming. Flo, of course. Stoned and Alone. Oh, that Kendra girl with the dating. I looked at her channel today. She is feisty. I do like her. She don't play either. You could tell she's been paneling for a while because her patience with panel bullshit is one I could only aspire to. If y'all think I'm bad, Fatty is on males. Maybe we could peek in on them. Let's peek in on Fatty. What you doing, Fatty? Give me 1 second here.
To be able words. If we didn't have freedom of religion,
You're talking about free speech. This is
if
something
we didn't have the freedom to not worship, okay,
Sam.
then we'd be living in an authoritarian state that was one way or another. It's like this.
What? Fatty, I'm trying to defend you here.
Would the Mormon Church or would Scientology exist in today's world if we would have declared ourselves a Christian nation? Because out of the 47 people that signed the declaration, out of the 53 that were Christians, there was 6 different sects of Christianity. So which one of those would we have chosen? Who would have ultimately fought or gained that ultimate power of the authoritarians that we were fleeing from in Europe? You know, mind you, we were Christians fleeing persecution from Christians.
Socrates came along.
So it's not an anti-Christian movement. It's not an atheistic movement. It's not a thumb in the eye movement. It's an inclusion movement, and it's an inclusion movement of everybody. You know, is under the same umbrella that we all want to be under the same fold, and you know, we all have the the right to at least want to
Spaghetti Sam
be who we want to be.
Yeah,
that's why I get so pissed off when people start trans bashing and gay bashing our brothers and sisters.
Right. Who's doing it?
You know,
where?
I don't,
Fatty,
I don't subscribe to that. I don't think it's the best thing for.
Hang on, I gotta go grab this man and take him on a show. He's on an empty panel right now, talking to people that are not even listening to him. Let me go grab him. I'm gonna panel poach. All right, we'll see if it works. What's going on flows? Oh, Montagraph is on. Chuck, Denizen, Noel. Oh, Angel. Hi, Angel. So that's what's going on in the panelverse. So if you're not watching me, that's probably what you're watching or something similar. Or you could check out Kendra, the dating. I don't want to stream her content because I don't want to get it. I don't want to cross her. But oh, they look like they're having fun too. Sorry. And then Easy is streaming. He's having an open panel, looks like. Who's on it? Bunch of people I don't know, but somebody by the name of Drama. So maybe we could get him over here too. Wait, what happened? Oh, the stone guy came back, and so now he'll probably like lock Fatty into their stone loop. But I am really curious about. I would like to have that conversation with you one day, Fatty. I know we started it, but I think we're aligned on a lot of values, and then maybe have some very different experiences with some of the others. Ba-bum. Well, I was trying not to start topics. Let me. 400 fun questions to ask people, friends, family, strangers. Let's see if I'll let them know if they're fun. What is your favorite sleeping position of all time? What's fun about that? I don't notice how I sleep. I don't really pay attention because I'm asleep. It's whatever position my body is in that allows it to sleep, because I only sleep when my body's tired. I can't make myself sleep. So if I'm not tired, I don't sleep. And then when my body gets tired, I know, I'm like, okay, it's time to put you to sleep. And then it just goes to sleep. And there's no position. Was that fun? Woo! What is the dumbest way you've been hurt? God. Oh my God. Let me think. Like, all of it seemed dumb to me, but what is dumb? A lot of it. I broke my own heart, but that didn't seem dumb. It seemed necessary, like for survival and sanity. I wouldn't call it dumb. And it definitely needed to be done. I don't know. I tell you what, the next time a dumb way happens, well, this is not really getting hurt, but the kind of stuff that happens on the Panelverse, like those weird encounters I have where it sets up that dynamic where I'm suddenly like to something for people, or in the way, or causing some kind of nonverbal problem somehow. And there's like this reaction. That, to me, that's dumb because I don't understand it. And then I leave the panels. So I guess that would be my answer. What are the 3 scents you like? I don't know. I don't have scents. What sport will be invented next? These are not fun. This is not what I thought of when I had in mind when I thought of fun. Okay, we're going to skip these questions. Let me go to the comments. There are none. All right. Well, what I'm trying to do is establish a regular streaming schedule. So that's what this is. If I have to go for 30 minutes, I'll do that. If people show up, I'll keep it going. But I at least want to stream in the evenings somewhere around this time. And other than that, there's like stuff going on in the Discord. They're watching stuff. They started Ozark, the Netflix series, and I couldn't get into it though. But that's what they're watching now, I think. Well, I could talk about peer support. I'm trying to get that series together. That training, it's not really a training curriculum. I think I explained it before, but here's what's going on. They're putting out a new training manual. And I've noticed, and others of us have noticed, that peer support seems to be changing and moving away from the kind of self-empowering type that I learned and I used and I was trained in. And so we don't know what's in the new manual, but I at least want to capture my version of peer support for posterity, so that if they do change it too drastically, they'll at least have an alternative like vision of what peer support once was or could be for the people that works for. And it seems to be getting more social justice-y and let us coddle you and help you with your problems, and activism is therapy. Like Washington State, you saw the DEI off department. We looked at their website and the trainings that state employees have to go to and all that stuff. Implicit bias. I read that tweet today about that black guy that worked at the engineering firm, that the white HR people wanted to train him on racism and implicit bias. And to me, this is an irrationality. This is myth thinking. And as a rationalist and somebody who likes to understand things as they actually are, like I don't know why I'm so passionate about reality, but I am. and it just, I have to know like the real thing. It bothers me if I don't. That may be why the detective genre is one of my favorite genres, because there's like a definitive reveal at the end where like, because it's all about different versions of the truth and possible theories of what the truth can be, and then there's like a final resolution of which one of those storylines is actually the truth definitively. So yeah, I'm obsessed. I tell you all the time, Socrates is like a starting point for me for so many things, and I've always been curious, inquisitive. I don't like to fool myself. I don't like to be fooled by other people. I have a hard enough time figuring out what's going on as it is. So I work really, really hard to understand what's real and not real, socially, with people, with the world, everything, politics. And so, someone like that, in the face of something like this wokeness that seems like an irrationalism to me, that implicit bias thing, because even if it's all true, the government doesn't belong there. The HR ladies don't belong there. Like that's a place that was normally set aside for a therapist if you voluntarily chose to take, like, it was something you had to initiate as it was self-determined. It wasn't your boss coming in and saying, hey, we need to take a look into your subconscious to make sure you're not racist. Because if I understand unconscious bias correctly, we all have them. So it's not like who's biased and who's not. It's like what are your biases? So we all come out with this like palette of biases. And then what do? Like, we all have them. So what? And they say even identifying them and using these techniques to change them doesn't actually, I don't even know what the behavior they're trying to change is. It seems like people getting their feelings hurt because they tell themselves stories about events that may or may not even be true. Because a lot of times they involve stories of what's in another person's head, which I'm always skeptical of. I don't know how I got on this topic. It's probably because I don't have a guest or a panelist. So please show up and tell your friends. So yeah, peer support's changing, and I'm trying to like capture the self-empowerment type, which I can show you on their website. Hang on. Come up. Oh, y'all gonna love this. Hang on, let me pull it up. All right, we're going back to this federal site they set aside for peer support. It's from the BRIS tax department. I'm not kidding. This is an actual government. Tell me we have not entered the technocracy phase. And the department stands for Bringing Recovery Supports to Scale Technical Assistance Center Strategy, BRIS tax. Okay, so from this department, whatever, like George Orwell couldn't even come up with a name this convoluted. And anyway, okay, so they have these core competencies that they've developed for peer workers, and the peer support role is advocating for people in recovery, sharing resources, and building skills. This is something that I try to help with. Building community and relationships, leading recovery groups, and mentoring and setting goals. This is all things I do as a peer. So I guess, hang on, it's these competencies I wanted to look at. Where are they? Yeah. Okay. This is what I want to show y'all. If for y'all that think I'm crazy or too mean or hard ass or whatever, it's recovery oriented. Peer workers hold out hope that those they serve, help those they serve identify and build on strengths and empower them to choose for themselves recognizing that there are multiple pathways to recovery. This is all about self-empowerment, self-determination, building on your strengths to master a situation. It's not about, like, this is in the federal site, so they'll probably change this at some point, but while it's still here, I want y'all to see it. It's person-centered. They're directed by the person. It's supposed to be collaborative. It's supposed to be directed by the client, not the therapist or the peer telling you what you should do or convincing you what the source of your problem is and what kind of political or activist solutions you should take toward it. It's personalized to align with the specific hopes, goals, and preferences of the people served and respond to their specific needs. So it's person-centered. There's also a trend that's moving away from that, where the individual is now seen as an avatar for a group that's experiencing group oppression. And if they work on the group level, they can alleviate it's the locus of control. It takes it from an internal personal locus of control where you gain mastery over the situation, whether you caused it or not. If you can take control of it, then why not do so if you have that option? To this more, it's not your fault, it's oppression, it's the patriarchy, it's white supremacy, whatever, and go get a picket sign and go protest, and that'll make your problems better. It's voluntary, relationship focused, respectful, trusting, empathetic, collaborative, and mutual. Look at this. It's mutual. It's not top down. And trauma informed. Now, this is where I think this trauma informed thing, and this is not actually quite what I was taught as trauma informed care. And I'll get into that because I asked the AI about it. This physical, psychological, and emotional safety. When you're working with me, there's no physical danger. And when you're working online or when you're on a panel or a YouTube or whatever, there's no, we're going to look at these competencies in a little while, but there's no physical danger. So to me, we could mostly scratch physical off the list when you're working remotely. So that leaves emotional and psychological safety. And I've run into this many times before in groups and communities where their idea of social and emotional safety is very different than mine. I don't even believe it's my responsibility to provide it. I don't know what that is. This is an unsafe space. I'm not here to provide safety for grown people that should be managing that themselves. I can provide physical safety. I don't think anyone's going to physically harm you while you're on a panel. But the emotional and psychological safety, that's the whole point of peer support. That's what we're helping you to learn how to provide for yourself. So, in fact, we have this saying in peer support, do with, not for. You don't want to do for the person. You want to do it with them and help them learn to eventually do it themselves. So, let me find that trauma-informed thing. All right. Here's what the AI says trauma-informed care is. It recognizes that trauma is widespread and can have lasting effects. So part of it is the awareness. Just like when I'm working with autism or ADHD or giftedness or some type of neurodivergence, I have to be aware of specifically how the autism is affecting the situation or the ADHD, like that one factor. And trauma-informed care is learning how to understand, be aware of the presence of and understand how the factor of trauma can impact the situation. So if you're like neurodivergent and there's trauma, which is common with so many of us, that you're looking at the trauma factor, you're looking at the neurodivergence, etc. So trauma-informed care is when you focus on trauma as one of the factors, usually in behavior, in presentation. It's going to be how someone comes across, how they act, how they communicate, how they present. And be aware that regardless of how it looks, there could be trauma reasons for the behavior. And that behavior is a form of communication. And if you try to understand the behavior through a trauma lens instead of trying to judge it, that's a better approach for working with trauma. It also aims to respond to those effects in a supportive and helpful way. It prioritizes creating a safe and predictable environment for people who have experienced trauma. This is new to me. I was not taught this in my peer support or in my trauma in care stuff. And one of the people that did a training on trauma-informed care was one of the ladies that invented the concept at one of the peer conferences many, many years ago. And I remember her talk very clearly. And it was very different from what I see presented as trauma-informed care today. And it was more about understanding behavior as communication and the traumagenic roots behind it. It wasn't about coddling and creating this like cotton lined environment for people to feel comfortable in, because a lot of trauma work is about working through your discomfort, feeling your discomfort, getting over the discomfort, etc. So if you arrange the environment to where the discomfort never happens in the first place, we're doing very different kind of work. And empowerment, it emphasizes empowering people to heal and rebuild their lives. Again, that's the part of it I do. So it's this kind of safety, psychological safetyism and predictability that I don't understand. I can't guarantee predictability. I can't guarantee you any kind of experience here. I can't guarantee you safety. I can't guarantee you're not going to hear something that sets you off emotionally, because I don't know your personal history. No one human being can be responsible for all of that. You are the best person to know what sets you off and to know how to manage any kind of reaction you have to something, whether that's talking through it, expressing it, leaving a panel, going take care of yourself, do self-care, etc. I don't know why it's the responsibility of other people to manage something that they're not even positioned to manage. And it kind of feel the same way with autism and neurodivergence. Like, I teach people how to self-manage their accommodations so that you don't have to rely on society and other people to always know how to accommodate you. They're not going to. Trust me. You better know what you need with your neurodivergence and how to have that accommodated than non neurodivergent people, the neurotypical people are. So why put the locus of responsibility on them to accommodate when you can take charge of it yourself? Like, one example we encountered at work was this person was sensitive to noise. So they wanted us to constantly like keep our conversations down, keep our radios down, or whatever. I said, why don't you just bring some headphones, and then you can sit in your office and put headphones on when it gets too loud, put on some music and control your sound level, instead of going around the office and having everybody else change what they're doing to meet your particular need for sound. So stuff like that. And I mean, that's what I would do in a situation. I wouldn't rely on other people to not make noise. That just seems not very realistic. I would rather try to find a way to, if they did make noise, I could be in control of that noise level and manage it for myself. So then I asked the AI that I thought it was about being aware of potential traumagenic sources of behavior as communication. And it says, you're absolutely right. That is a very important aspect of trauma-informed care. When we view behavior through a trauma-informed lens, we understand that challenging or disruptive behaviors, challenging to whom and disruptive to whom, I would ask, can be a person's way of communicating their needs and feelings, especially if they haven't developed healthier coping mechanisms. This is particularly true for people who have experienced trauma in their past. It says, here's how this works. Well, actually, we don't need to get into that. That's like childhood trauma stuff. But by recognizing that, well, it can disrupt development itself. And I think that this definitely happened in my case, because when I go through the Erickson stages, there's definitely some I'm still stuck in because I haven't. Part of it, I think, was not having a male figure to initiate me through some of those stages. But some of it, I think, is the neurodivergence and the other stuff. And that neurotypical people either innately or have structures in place, or the structures that are in place naturally fit them better than it fits me somehow, et cetera, et cetera. But for whatever reason, I did not make some of the social transitions that many people in my peer group made. It could also cause fight, flight, freeze responses. And now they have fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I think they added a fifth one, but I don't remember what it was. And difficulty expressing their needs and communicating. So they may use other methods like acting out or emotional volatility and stuff like that. And to understand that it's trauma behind it that's trying to be expressed. So the way trauma-informed care handles it is by responding empathetically with understanding, etc., and seeking the root cause, not just focusing on the behavior itself. That is the most important thing of trauma-informed care that I remember learning, is your goal is not to stop the behavior. It's not to get the patient back under control. It's to use the behavior as a window to understanding the trauma that's behind it, the traumagenic roots that are behind the behavior, and to start addressing and talking about and getting them to open up about that. And then to develop healthier coping skills or healthier tools you can use when you are having a trauma reaction to kind of reduce the duration, intensity, start processing it through a more rational perspective and multiple perspectives. In fact, the more perspectives you can get on a really intense emotion, the more that's kind of diffuse it. And because remember, emotions are from a story and the perspectives are different stories. So the more different stories you can tell yourself about an emotion, the more options it's going to have. It creates like channels for it to like flow off into and subside. At least that's how I do it. It works for me. So I wanted to ask it about this psychological safety thing. What is this emotional and psychological safety of which you speak? Because that's where we get stuff like cancel culture and what is it, DEI, protected everybody's feelings. And I don't think that's healthy. That's not self-empowering. I don't think that's healthy for the kind of society I want to live in, at least. All right. Emotional and psychological safety refers to two intertwined concepts. Emotional safety, this means feeling safe to express your emotions. And we talked the other day, Steve was here, about men feeling safe to open up or feeling okay about being vulnerable, like without too much shame or guilt or whatever that you feel. Without fear of judgment. I will tell you right now, and I openly admit this, I will judge. I judge. Everybody judges. I get judged all the time. I know people are judging me, and I am judging them. And I just want to be transparent about all this. I don't know where this no judgment or fear of judgment comes from. And if you ask me what my opinion is, I will tell you, but I don't want to set the expectation that you can just tell me anything and there's going to be no judgment. If other people are working that way, I don't know how they're doing it. I definitely have judgment, strong judgment about a lot of things. And you hear me express it on here all the time. Without fear of judgment, ridicule, or dismissal. I can't guarantee that. When people tell me stupid shit, I react to it in the way I react. Just like I can't guarantee your emotions, what emotion you're going to have. I can't guarantee my own emotions until they happen either. And so we both have to be prepared to experience whatever emotions we experience and to kind of sit with them, work through. They're just emotions. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to hurt. We're behind a screen. It's going to be okay. And to just having them and sitting with them and letting them do their thing and be at whatever level. I can offer that, but and in the moment, I'm not going to hijack your expression to pick it apart and ridicule it and judge it and stuff. But I do want to be realistic that if it's really outrageous or I think it's stupid, that stuff's going to be there. And you, it's no different than you hear me react on the streams. So if that's emotional safety, yeah, that's new. That's not a concept that I work with or intend to provide. I can provide my version of it, like I just described. I can't provide this version of it that the AI is describing, either here on the stream or like one-on-one. It's about knowing you won't be belittled for feeling sad, angry, or scared. Okay, if you look at it in that way, yeah, you're not going to be belittled and you're not going to be emotion policed. I think that's the important thing. For me, emotional safety is being allowed to have the emotion in the first place without having it stigmatized, shut down, made the center of the issue instead of what the actual issue is, etc. So, in a way, yes, on emotional safety, not quite the way they describe here, but whatever emotions come up, they are okay. They are natural. I'm not going to judge you for having an emotion. Actually, what really might get judged and ridiculed is not the emotion, because usually emotions are perfectly rational for whatever story's going on in their head. It's the story that's probably going to get judged and criticized, etc. But that's part of what I'm here to do, is help you do that for yourself. Psychological safety, this builds on emotional safety and extends too. So they've added an extra layer of safety now in addition to it. So we went from physical safety and now we're at emotional safety. So now we're responsible for people's emotional states as well as their physical safety. And now there's something called psychological safety, which builds on that. Um, it extends to feeling safe to take risk and be vulnerable. Well, I thought that's what emotional safety was. It means knowing you can speak up with concerns, ask questions, or admit mistakes without fear of punishment, blame, or being ostracized. Okay. Yeah, fear of punishment, yes. Fear of blame, yeah, unless it's something that you did that, personal responsibility, or being ostracized. I think here people self ostracized. There's only one person I've ever had to remove from the community, and that's because of like the privacy thing that got compromised. And so, but the ostracism fear should almost everybody who's left this community. It wasn't ostracism, it wasn't banishment, it was them deciding that this community was not for them and voluntarily leaving it for whatever reason. Um, Trauma can erode trust. People who have experienced trauma may have difficulty trusting others, especially authority figures. Okay, but they're also grown adults, so that's for them to work through and eventually develop. And hopefully, with the right support, they could get that. And peer support can be some of that support. And a safe environment helps rebuild that trust. Honestly, I think part of the problem is because of the type of people I work with. I don't really work at this level of trauma. I don't work with really fragile people just come out of crises. I work at people more near that zone of transformation that they've probably developed the resiliency where this doesn't really come into play. So if you look at peer support as working at the lowest level of or highest level of care, rather highest care needs, this might be an approach for those people, but that's an entirely different environment than I currently work in, although I have worked in this environment before. The triggers and flashbacks, we've talked about that before, knowing what to do when people have usually emotional flashbacks, but sometimes they can be visual. And if you're working with neurodivergence, it could also be a meltdown from like overstimulation or a tantrum from dysregulation, executive function, inability to express complex thoughts and emotions in a timely way, etc. So if all you're seeing is excitability, it could be one of many things, and there's different approaches for each of those things. And so understanding even triggers can be different types of, like a trigger can be triggering different types of experiences that could be handled in different ways. um Healing requires vulnerability. Healing from trauma often involves talking about difficult experiences, feeling psychologically safe. I still don't understand psychological safety, but it sounds like just like you feel like you could talk. I feel like people have that here. Most people that come here feel like they can talk and open up about things. And if they don't, I mean, no one person is going to be the right match for everybody. That's just a rule in mental health in any other field, really. So the people that come here and feel like they can open up, I don't think are having a problem with psychological safety. And then some people are. I mean, there are people that think I'm too mean and harsh or whatever, and they obviously didn't see all the flames on the way in here. By creating emotional and psychological safety, healthcare providers can empower patients. I think that's my criticism, because it grates against my own sense of what empowerment is. It's not depending on other people to provide emotional and psychological safety for you. It's you providing it for yourself, identifying it when, like, knowing what you need, knowing yourself, knowing what you need, identifying when your needs are being met, when they're not, what needs to change to meet them met, how you can make those changes or communicate them to the right people to help get them made, et cetera, et cetera. But it all starts or originates internally with that internal locus. That's the core of the empowerment. And maybe I am old school. I don't know any other way. And that's the way I use it. That works for me too. It reduces re-traumatization. Um, Not really. When you're working with trauma or dealing with intense emotions or intense conversations, there's no way to guarantee re-traumatization. We see people get re-traumatized on here all the time. I get re-traumatized. In fact, I don't think there's anybody that spent any kind of long-term time on this panel that hasn't been re-traumatized in some way. That's part of the healing and post-traumatic growth process itself. At least they're getting re-traumatized in an environment where they can use that to learn and grow from it. So that's my version of a safe environment. Not necessarily, well, yeah, you do want to reduce it, but it's not preventing or eliminating it. It's having an environment that knows what to do with it when it happens and how to, like, have it happen in a healthy way. It improves communication, open communication. It builds trust. All right, here's some ways to foster emotional and psychological safety. Validate feelings, which I do. I'm very emotion positive. I'm probably one of the most emotion positive people. I'm the one defending everybody else's right to have their emotions at whatever level they have them. Emotions are to me, in my culture and where I come from and the way I grew up with them, and the way adults around me handle them, they're completely natural, physiological, biochemical responses, like a sneeze or hiccup, or like when your stomach growls or a yawn. They're not a moral issue. They're not something you're willing or intending. They happen. They're usually completely normal reactions when you understand how the person's experiencing the situation. They usually, it's very rare that there's an irrational emotion. Like, so uh, most emotional reactions are in response to something. They just happen, just like thoughts just happen. So I validate them in the sense that I don't stigmatize. I think they're completely natural. I don't think there's anything wrong or bad with having an emotion, however intense. And I don't think there's any reason to have shame or guilt over emotions at all. And so I definitely provide that kind of validation. Active listening, transparency, respect boundaries. And in this case, it says let patients set the pace and respect their decisions. Yeah, I do that. I mean, I might challenge a little bit, but that's also part of the work. But so if that's what emotional and psychological safety is, then yeah, I do have my version of it. This is not how I'm seeing it make its way into the new training, the new type of peer support. Oh my God, I went 44 minutes. There's no panel. I was going to look at these competencies, but I think I might save that for when I do the actual peer support thing, because I could build the curriculum on these competencies. But part of it, the reason I brought them up in the first place is because so many of them emphasize self-empowerment and personal responsibility. So knowing that it's kind of encoded in the current model of peer support, And then seeing this DEI stuff at the state and federal level, and knowing that these curriculum changes are coming that are going to de-emphasize certain parts and emphasize other parts, that's what's motivating me to, while it's still in the federal material, to build a peer support series based around the type that actually empowers. And so somebody will at least have some example of it if things change too drastically. Plus, it's probably a good thing to put out there regardless. So I think I will stop with that. All right. Anybody coming up? Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night. I just wanted to make sure I kept the evening space going. So I'll be here tomorrow morning for coffee. I have a little bit of work to do, so if I'm not here for whatever reason, it means I just got a late start and had to go do that instead. But I'll be here for the midday stream at 3 p.m. Central, and then I'll do another one of these evening streams sometime tomorrow night. So I think that's what we'll work with for a little while. Other than that, have a good rest of your Monday night. Get your week started right, and see you in hell. Hey, Leopard Print. Yeah, have a good night too. I don't know if we've met yet. Let's see who you are. Well, you know what? I'm going to subscribe to your channel. I don't know who you are, but you have a cute little leopard icon with the shades. So, yeah, good to see you. Good to meet you. And have a good night too. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care.